A European harbour, here Hamburg, a transshipment centre for goods from all around the world, masses of them. Among all the food, clothes and machines, there are more and more counterfeit drugs. They come by air too, dangerous pills hidden in the flood of freight coming through every day. Suspicious cargo has landed at Frankfurt Airport. The goods from India are being secured. They will take photographs of the suspicious bottles.
This is the receiving company in Chile, and that's clearly the sender in India.
600,000 pills made to look like Viagra, the drug to treat erectile dysfunction. The estimated black market value is €6 million.
We'll pass these pills onto our laboratory in England to have some investigation done. We want to know if they contain any active ingredients, what the dosage is, and the quality.
The first step is to remove the suspicious cargo.
It's pretty clear to us that there is no market of this size in Chile for drugs to treat erectile dysfunction. These 600,000 pills were meant to go to well-heeled buyers. In our experience, these buyers are mainly in Europe, but also in North America.
Investigative authorities and pharmaceutical companies are acting together because the discoveries are getting more frequent and the quantities larger. The counterfeiters are getting bolder and, importantly, more professional.
It's clear that organised crime has discovered medication smuggling. Offenders known to us from drug smuggling are branching out.
The search for counterfeit medication is a search for a needle in a haystack. The deadly cargo can be hidden anywhere, but the capacities of the customs office are limited. They can only check around 3% of the onslaught of goods. Tons of counterfeit medication to treat erectile dysfunction, to aid weight loss, anabolic steroids and other lifestyle drugs, but also counterfeit life-saving drugs are confiscated by customs in vast quantities. The sheer amount of confiscated cargo gives an idea of how much counterfeit medication gets through to the buyers undiscovered and doesn't end up in the customs office's evidence vault. The European headquarters of the Viagra manufacturer in Great Britain. It was here that the confiscated pills from Frankfurt Airport were sent for examination in the laboratory.
So you've already got 3 different active pharmaceutical ingredients in there. No one knows the patient safety aspects of mixing them all together in one tablet. And added to that, we often find them containing, as well as that, a 4th active, which is called metronidazole, which is an antibiotic.
Senior chemist Wendy Greenall informed Security Director Steve Allen about the test result.
As you can see, they're counterfeit. I mean, they're much a bit larger than ours.
I can give you an example of how many we've seen since 2004. In fact, something in the region of 42 million Pfizer products have been recovered, counterfeited, around the world, in 81 different countries of the world, and also enough active ingredient to manufacture nearly 64 million more. So that is very significant. It's only the tip of the iceberg, don't forget, and it only relates to Pfizer. So if you think about this for all of the companies, the problem is very, very immense.
In Bonn, the current situation is being followed with interest. Professor Harald Schweim is a specialist in medication safety. At the University of Bonn and in collaboration with foreign health authorities, the pharmacologist has been working on the globally growing danger of counterfeit medication for years. Here at the Institute, the scientists are intensively researching counterfeit Viagra.
It is well known that a product like Viagra really appeals to men in many parts of the world. These products are relatively expensive, and they won't be prescribed if there are pre-existing medical conditions. So customers try to get these products in other ways. This promotes internet sales, and if they're cheap, customers buy them. If you receive counterfeit medication, you won't go to the police because it's embarrassing. And so the counterfeiters even end up with the customers as secret allies.
Customers are committing a punishable offence even if they have no idea they're purchasing counterfeit goods online. In addition, customers are the only ones in the chain who are easy to identify because of the delivery address.
My problem was that I was embarrassed to go to the doctor to have this medication prescribed. You're told to exercise and eat less. That's why I tried the internet. I searched for Xenical and came across the Best Med Union website, where Xenical was being sold without requiring a prescription. I was able to order 60 pills for 140 euros.
A handsome sum for questionable quality. A new study from Austria has found that 95% of all prescription medications offered without a prescription online are counterfeit. Maren received her ordered goods a few days later via courier.
I took the pills and was angry that they didn't help at all. So I called the company Roche and told them that there was a website using the company name to sell this drug that wasn't working.
The pharmaceutical company reacted to the call immediately and had the product allegedly manufactured by them chemically examined. The result, it was counterfeit. The manufacturing company filed charges against the unknown offender. The Criminal Investigation Office in Saarbrücken took up the case.
When Hoffmann-La Roche filed charges, we were given some shipping documents. We opened the case, and within a few weeks it led to 7 buildings and countless vehicles being searched.
The police confiscated the largest quantity of data seized so far in Europe in connection with medication crime. Most of that data is customer information.
On closer analysis of this data, we found out that we weren't dealing with just one product. 7 different pharmaceutical companies were affected.
These products are offered by hundreds of illegal online pharmacies. A breakthrough occurred when the internet provider in Italy was found. The police were on the trail of a global retail ring. 4 of the offenders live in Germany near the investigators' headquarters in Saarbrücken. In order to avoid a heavier sentence at the upcoming trial, the 4 accused men revealed their knowledge about the organization's structures and person in charge.
Because of what these international crime rings do, more than 63,000 customers were harmed by counterfeit drugs, and over a period of 2.5 years, the perpetrators made an unlawful profit of almost 14 million euros.
Kenya, in Africa, where deadly diseases are rife, the dangers of getting ineffective or even poisonous medications is particularly great. There are not enough drugs here, and the poorest of the poor obtain their medications in uncontrolled slum pharmacies like this one. The Ministry of Health doesn't have the situation under control. According to estimates, 60% of the drugs in Africa are counterfeit. They have already claimed the lives of thousands of people.
The ports of entry are porous, they are open. When medicines come, we do not have a facility at the airport or the ports of entry that will guarantee inspection, quality control before they are coming in. Our law is weak, and because of those weaknesses, counterfeits and bad quality find themselves on the market.
The notorious Mathare Valley slum in Nairobi. What makes this market in the middle of terrible poverty so attractive to drug counterfeiters?
Who is funding the drug supplies or the pharmaceutical supply system? The money is coming from donors. So the money is available.
The German organization Doctors for Developing Countries has set up an outpatient station in Nairobi's Mathare Valley slum.
We send doctors to our projects, working for free, who treat people who couldn't otherwise afford a doctor. But even the best doctors need effective medications. We buy large quantities of medications. We see 500 patients every day, including many taking medicines. That's why it's very interesting to see what kinds of medications we're handing out to the people here. For that reason, we perform spot checks. We want to see if our supply chains are still clean. We want to be sure that we're prescribing patients medicines containing the right substances.
The people of the slums call the German doctor's outpatient clinic Baraka, a blessing and an act of beneficence.
In Africa, HIV and all its accompanying diseases like tuberculosis play a major role, and the medications to treat these problems are taken in vast quantities. That's why it's particularly tragic when the right medications are not available. In addition, these diseases have a stigma attached to them, despite the education being done over the years. If someone says, "Here, round the back, I've got this cheap drug, it really works," and backs this up with some scientific-sounding half-truths, then the people buy it and spend all their money on ineffective or even harmful medications. What worries us more and more is that counterfeit medication has very much increased on the European domestic market. That wasn't the case even a few years ago.
Brussels Airport, one of the main global trade hubs in Europe. A suspicious pharmaceutical delivery from China has arrived. Besides India, China is now the most important manufacturing country for medications. Customs Inspector Paul Moliner tells us about the biggest seizure of counterfeit medication in Europe to date. It happened at Brussels Airport.
This is what it looks like when you look into a package like that. Grunenthal is actually written with an umlaut, 2 dots on the U. But there isn't one here. There's another spelling mistake here. Tramal is written with an O instead of an A. The packaging alone tells you this isn't the original medication. This is an anti-malarial. They were just held together by a rubber band. There was no external packaging. We found thousands and thousands of pills. This is what the packages looked like. They were full of counterfeit medication. When you're dealing with a knockoff T-shirt, you've lost a few euros. But here, we're talking about people's lives, children's lives.
The problem of counterfeit life-saving medication is no longer limited to developing countries. The threat has crossed into Europe. Pharmaceutical wholesaler Peter Jebens has been importing medications from all around the world into Europe for decades.
I personally have often been confronted by reputable, but also by shady suppliers, with substances that were offered to me and others at relatively low prices, so that we would bring them onto the German market, but also the market of the European Union.
All of the pharmaceutical companies are interested in sorting out this problem. The routes from factory to patient are often very long and roundabout. Most pharmaceutical manufacturers have their drugs produced outside of Europe, in faraway places like China, India and South America. In addition, there is a confusingly large amount of re-imports, parallel imports and inexpensive stocks outside of Europe that go through countless borders and hands before they finally arrive in European pharmacies, for example.
In the legal supply chains, we had everything from cough syrups through antibiotics to AIDS drugs and thyroid hormones. We checked the supply chain very far back. We have cases where the medications were meant for wholesalers. At the same time, there were a large number of cases, in the 40 cases we had, 13 in total, where we found counterfeit medications in pharmacies. In 2 cases, the patients recognized the counterfeits and reported them to the pharmacies.
Pharmacies, a place of order, care and trustworthiness. Are the pharmacists aware of the danger that they might be selling counterfeit medication? Are some even in league with the counterfeiters? There seem to be a few black sheep.
This problem was only highlighted when a pharmacist was deceived and came forward. Before that, the problem was never more than a suspicion. But then it became a fact.
Dann waren das ja immer nur Hypothesen. Jetzt hat man eine These.
Itzehoe in northern Germany. This is where pharmaceutical wholesaler Peter Jebens has been running his business for a short while. Jebens provided the crucial lead in a large-scale counterfeiting scandal.
In autumn 2005, we were offered a product by a company based overseas. This was a product that was selling very well in Germany. The product contained the active ingredient rituximab. In Germany and Europe, it's also known under the brand name Mab-Thera. It's a drug used in cancer treatment. It's very potent.
A short while later, he received a sample of the product that would have earned him 500 euros for every dose he sold because of the low purchase price. The shipment came from Dubai.
Auf diesem Muster stand in der Tat drauf, Made in Switzerland.
This sample said, made in Switzerland. It largely corresponded to the original Swiss product I was familiar with. But when I took a closer look, I got the impression that there were small differences between the sample and the original Swiss product.
The pharmaceutical wholesaler informed his partner, who'd brokered the deal with Dubai, about his suspicion and immediately sent the sample to be examined at the university clinic in Freiburg.
Unfortunately, it turned out after a few days that the sample was not the same as the original medication. It wasn't even an inferior medication. It contained no active ingredients whatsoever. It was objectively proved to be counterfeit.
Since the investigating authorities didn't believe him, Jebens got the health insurance companies involved. They filed charges against around 100 pharmacists. The consequence, searches were carried out all over Germany, but finding proof this late in the game was difficult.
Most patients who got these cytostatic drugs in the past didn't have much time left to live, which means that there was no way to check what they were really given.
There were strong clues that the pharmacists under suspicion didn't sell original medications, abusing the hopes of very sick people, exploiting grey areas and obscure byways. Unscrupulous crooks with and without lab coats are probably still in business.
After some time, when it couldn't be denied anymore that this was a counterfeit product, I contacted this man again, to talk to him about his moral responsibility. And I was horrified when he told me not to make such a fuss. It was for cancer patients after all, and they would die from their disease sooner or later anyway.
Dass ich mich doch nicht so anstellen möge, denn es handelt sich ja schließlich nur Tumorpatienten, die an ihrer Krankheit.
That's why he said it didn't matter whether the drug contained effective substances or not.
Ob eine Substanz nun wirksam wäre oder nicht.
Peter Jebens got the case going, and at first his business continued to flourish. Soon 15 pharmacists and wholesalers ordered goods worth 1.5 million euros that Peter Jebens reliably supplied. But none of the 15 buyers paid. Peter Jebens didn't suspect yet that a noose was slowly tightening around his neck.
I talked to my wife about it. We didn't need to talk for long to be clear that we were doing the right thing. What neither of us knew is what we were getting ourselves into. It hit us like a tsunami. We never thought that the worldwide network of mafia structures would act against us like this. My family and I were threatened. We got telephone calls at night saying we wouldn't live very much longer and that I'd regret what I'd done. Strangers were on my company premises. We were observed and photographed.
Jebens filed a lawsuit against his customers for the outstanding bills worth 1.5 million euros. They have not paid to this day. It meant financial ruin. Peter Jebens shows us the location of his business in Denmark. It was also his home.
This is where I used to live, number 128. My wife and I spent 11 years in this house.
Das war unser Haus.
Peter Jebens had to sell the house. He was in a lot of debt. His pharmaceutical wholesale license was revoked. His wife died.
Within half a year, I lost my company, my modest savings and my house. Now, in my mid-50s, I'm starting from scratch. But I'm still certain I did the right thing.
Jebens had to fight for more than a year to get his license back. Today, the pharmaceutical wholesaler, who didn't want to participate in the machinations of his business partners, despises those who decide on the life and death of others for personal greed. A new discovery in Hamburg harbour. Wolfgang Schmitz from Customs wants to take a look at the cargo with his colleagues. 1.3 tons of counterfeit medication was found by the port employees in Hamburg. The black market value is hard to estimate. 1.3 tons more for the statistics of the Customs Office, which reach new record figures every year.
The discoveries made by the Customs were enough for us to take legal action. We have to find a completely new system that guarantees that counterfeit medication cannot show up anymore in the legal supply chain.
A new law will finally bring security to Europe. In addition to serial numbers and holograms, a barcode will make every single package safe from being counterfeited. Until then, the bastion against the drug counterfeiters remains active, the Customs Office. The discovery in Hamburg harbour could be attributed to specific people. decision makers, string pullers and couriers. In the early hours of the morning, a nationwide search for the counterfeiter ring begins. All of the suspects will have their homes searched at the same time so that they cannot warn each other. It's not a good start to the day for some. The question remains, who will win the fight in the end? It's a billion-dollar industry, but it's also a matter of life and death.